doing service and worshiping our Lord when our pastor isn't here. I say this for benefit of our guests in the back, that I served at the behest of this church body that has encouraged me through previous pastors, Skylar Rose and Anthony Jenkins, and now Kelly O'Connor, who truly make this a blessing to speak before you. And so, having read this scripture today, it's part of this series that, if you look at the front of your bulletin, it says Christians Behaving Badly. And I subtitled that with Speak the Truth. I think we're finding ourselves at a point in time unprecedented in history where Christians behaving badly and speaking the truth really ring forth in such a degree that we've never seen. And it's brought us to just reflect on this small saying that I'm sure a lot of us have heard at some point in time. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt. I don't know about the kids in here. I hope they've never had to hear that yet. But I'm sure all of us adults have heard it over and over again. And most likely, those of us who have either stated or thought this popular phrase at a time or two is in response to an insult or put down. And yet, no matter how confident we may sound, and no matter how much we may have wished this phrase to be true, we've likely walked away overwhelmed with pain from those cutting words. I know when I met with staff, knowing that this was going to be this passage, it struck me personally, because I do remember words that cut very deep. And though they weren't mortal wounds, they still left scars. They left a part of me that kind of rubs over a scar. You know, you kind of remember that time when you got hurt, and it doesn't go away. Or certainly it takes a long time to heal. And many of us, unfortunately, have had to learn from time to time that words are powerful, and they do cut deep. That creating the wounds can be very difficult to heal. That words can stick with a person longer than a broken bone. And I know that to be true. It can affect one's self-esteem. It can cause fear and prejudice and influence and inspire people to participate in actions either of uplifting the human race or dehumanizing us, making othering, regardless of the group, ethnicity, manner of thinking that you belong to. Words can and do divide us. I think this is very true even in our personal relationships. But if any time you found yourself in friction with a family member, and we've known how that has pervaded throughout all of our history, that there are relationships in our greater society and relationships with those of us in the church. So when we look at this passage of Paul to the Ephesians, reflecting on today, we can see that here's a case for the church that can speak to us. Now, while we don't know the specific arguments of the Christians, among the Christians in the Ephesian church, we do know that there was a lot of tension between the Jewish Christians and those of Gentile background. And that because of these differences, their theological beliefs and faith really got twisted up. It got twisted up based on what you ate, what clothes you wore, who you associated with, the language that you use, your worldview, both your ethnic and your cultural biases. This is hundreds of years ago. And yet, I see how it rings true to us today. I know that I have personally had to struggle with the effects of words from long past, and that come out of all these different contexts. And though the words sting may have gone, they're not forgotten. And outside the church, where these differences have been made manifest, we can see that they may have kept people who truly loved each other from marrying each other, from eating together, from simply associating and saying hi. As we hear different stories, parables of Jesus having to meet the woman from Samaria and others. So as Jewish and Gentile Christians began to worship together as one body, it becomes difficult for them to give up these ingrained prejudices against each other and to fully embrace each other with love. So it's no wonder that these tensions move forward and that they even get hostile, equalized, belittling, dehumanizing, excluding, blaming the other while denying one's own wrongs and privileges. And so while it's easy for us to look at this letter from Paul to the Ephesians and point our finger at these first century Gentiles and Jewish Christians for not being imitators of God, as though they haven't fully developed, as Paul would call them, I think too often we can relate to these early Christians. And that it's not easy for us to face our fears of differences of brothers and sisters of faith practices and native languages and different cultures who have different worldviews and different backgrounds. And that we wind up always flipping the mirror over to them, making them the other. That we expect people who want to be part of our faith and enjoy God's love to still be outside our circle of fellowship. That they don't do things the way they should be done. And that they don't use the words that we use. They don't eat the food that we eat. And we exclude it from our circle. So when I hear the cries of our brothers and sisters that challenge our way, and I'll use this for my expectations, my way of doing things, I realize that tradition can be exclusive and sometimes oppressive. And I speak this to all of us as part of the church. It is part of our history that we have oppressed people who've wanted to come in love. And we've done that with a sense of immediacy, anger, and privilege that we can no longer ignore. If we let our anger settle with us when the sun goes down and use evil words to justify our way, we are placing our blame on our brothers and sisters for what we should easily admit to is our fault. That belittling and othering and just excluding people has little to do with where they come from and all to do with our past. So the institutions that we benefit from, these systems, these traditions, all the simple talk comes to us for our own benefit. But I'm here to share with you, church, it does not end that way. That there is no way that our God intended the church to be exclusive. As the rivers have many streams, we are all part of one body of water. And that when we read Paul in his first 3 chapters, he says that the Gentiles, though far off, they are no longer strangers and aliens, but citizens with the saints and members of the same household of God. They swim in the same waters that we do. That for in his flesh, Christ has been made both Jew and Gentile into one, and has broken down the dividing walls, that the hostility between us, he has created in himself a new humanity in place of 2. So he is reconciling both the groups to God in one body through the cross, thus putting to death the hostility among us. So when Paul comes to his letter in the 4th chapter, he tells the church body then, as he shares to us now, as a prisoner of the Lord, I beg you to lead a life worthy of the calling to which you've been called, making every effort to maintain the unity of spirit in a bond of peace, that there is just one body, one spirit, just as you've been called to the one of hope, that your calling is with the one Lord, the one faith, the one baptism, the one God of all, who above all and through all is in all. So Paul says, let us put away all falsehood. Let us speak the truth to our neighbors, and that we are members of one another. Let us speak truth to our neighbors. I use this as a segue to share with you that a friend of mine of the Jewish faith had invited me to see a film at the San Francisco Jewish Film Festival this week. And I hope all of you get a chance to see this film called The Fourth Estate. The director, her name is Liz Garbus, actually was able to become what they call an embedded journalist and had her whole team do a documentary film at the New York Times. At the time, our 45th president was inaugurated. And this film is a little over an hour, and it's going to be a series on Showtime. I'm not suggesting you go out and get cable TV, but I don't know other way you're going to watch it. But the point is that you follow as the truth unveils itself in real time. And that when people use terms as fake news, and that's not the truth and enemy of the people, we have to come to grips that regardless of our walks of life, that truth is the foundation for mercy, for justice, and for love. I'm not saying that's the message in the movie, but when you see it, you can look at it with the eyes that Christ has given us. And for me to sit there with, I don't know how many people were of Christian faith, but the majority were of Jewish faith, and sit and we had conversation to know that we need to be united with knowing that the truth is something God gave us to love each other. That we are called, regardless of our denomination and our faith walk, to use it not as a weapon, but to use it as a gift. To open our hearts, our minds, our hands, to know that we are weak, we are imperfect, we are flawed, but we are God's. And He wants everyone to join in their own weakness and strength to are to share them. Those who are in need to ask and not be ashamed. That guilt and fear cannot paralyze us from acting on behalf of our brothers and sisters. And that when we come to the question, what do we do now? We can remember the prophet who said, walk humbly, trust in our Lord, share mercy and truth. So Paul says, put the falsehood away and speak truth to your neighbors, regardless of the household they come from. That we are all members of the same body. And when one is mistreated unjustly, then the baptismal call tells us that we can only be clean when we call it out and dismantle it and break down these walls of injustice. Paul says we are to be angry at these injustices. And so when we see that children are separated from families, when people are treated unjustly, not just in this country, but around the world, that a certain percentage of people control all the wealth, the majority of wealth, and there are those who continue to suffer despite their well-being and their good intentions, we know God calls us. So we have this time, church, to know we are to become imitators of God, living in his love, showing his light, emanating from the inside out, that indeed we can live lives that unite us with those who are different than us. That we can proclaim justice for all walks of life. And that all members are now the body of Christ. So we can choose to be these imitators of beloved children. We can build a bridge